Alright, welcome to part 2 of making this Edelgard cosplay. So I'm hoping to get a lot more done in this part 2. We'll see about that though, because I bought a bunch of cosplays, so now my short-term ones are kind of like out of the way for now. So it's a little weird jumping back on it after like taking a month since working on it. We're gonna do it though. So I realized in the few projects I did in between my part 1 and today, there's a lot of improvements that I could make with the current one. That, like the little bit that I have done, I've realized some things that I'd like to change to make it cleaner and, I don't know, just to make it better. But let's get to this. It's pretty wrinkly. I don't like the sleeves as much as I used to. But I'm gonna leave them as is because there's gonna be a giant cape going over it. And this is definitely getting redone, like 200% being redone. I want to put interfacing in here too, make it really sturdy. Besides that, I think I like just about everything on this up to this point. I'll be making those changes tonight. Probably won't film them since it's not anything new to you guys. She has this heart kind of design in the back. So I'm going to lay this out so I can see it all evenly. I made sure it fits. Once again, just make sure they're lined up nicely. Okay, here's the back on the dress form. I swear it just looks super wonky on the dress form, but in person or like on myself, it actually looks fine. It fits perfect. I really wish I'd made a pattern for the Eileen underskirt because that's like exactly what I need. You know, I'm just gonna drape it. That's what I'm gonna do. Alright, I'm just gonna change out that needle on my machine and then piecing this together. It is a very beautiful snowy day. Okay, now I'm going to sew on the elastic waistband, and then we're gonna leave it to hang for the night before hemming and adding the gold trim on the bottom. I'm going to basically cover all these raw edges in this bias tape, which is actually a perfect match. I'm quite surprised. Kind of how it looks. Okay, so I have the top pretty much set. I'm actually pretty proud of this back. There's a little hook right here to hold it together at the top, and then here's the zipper. And there's a little triangle at the top that she had on hers as well. And the back is open. Alright, so next up on this project is the skirt. And because the skirt is a really important piece, or at least in my opinion it's a really important piece, we're going to take the time and do it right. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to start off by kind of sketching it out a little. So then I can have a version I can look at on paper. And then I'm going to kind of like list out the technicalities of it, like what kind of waistband I want, things like that. Then I'm going to do some math. I'm gonna end up calculating, like, you know, how big what parts need to be and such, and then we'll drape it based on that math and adjust it. And then we'll try on the draped version, and then we'll go into the actual fabric. So it's quite the process for a skirt, but this, I really need it to look good. No artist, be mindful of that, but like kind of for the front, it splits down the middle. For the back, it's just a big puffy ball gown skirt, and for the side, it kind of like tapers down. So we want the back to be a little bit longer than the front. And it looks like to her, on her, some day of the measurements portion, it goes down in the back to her mid-calf. I really like to sew with a 5/8 inch seam, so I also am adding 2.5 inches onto this. So I think total that's like 29.5 inches. And then I'm dividing that by 4 for the waist. we'll have that fall at like the middle ground of 24 plus 32 divided by 2. We'll have it fall like 28 inches. So we'll have a middle panel too. So now we'll do 29.5 divided by 6. And each of those panels will be like 5 inches on the top. Cool. So I'm gonna draw this out for a quick second. Different measurements. So the front panels, there's 2 of them, 6 total. The front 2 will be 24 inches. The side 2 will be 28 inches. And then the back 2 are 32 inches. And then I'm gonna go and drape the pattern onto my stand. And I'm going to trim it all up to make sure it's one smooth line. And then that should hopefully work. I'm actually only going to do one side to start, and then once I have that one side perfect, I'm going to copy it over to the other side and get it on neat, if that makes sense. It's going to be cut the way it needs to be later, which you guys will see, but it needs to be separate in the middle, so that's why we have 2 separate pieces here. Let's repeat for the other panels. So fun fact about me, I actually have 2 pairs of fabric scissors. I don't know if anyone else does this, but these are for cutting muslin and quote unquote like cheap or materials that I don't really care about. And these ones are my cutting nice things fabric scissors. This is super random, but look at how neatly I wrote this. That is so pretty. I have really messy handwriting, so I sometimes impress myself. Okay, so it'll definitely fit the waist. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself. I'll get into it in a second, but so there's the 24 inch, or I think it's 24, yeah, 24 or 25 inch, 28 inches, and then 32 inches. So a habit I've had my whole life has been I tend to rush things a little too fast. I know this sounds like a job interview when somebody asks my weakness, but it's really true. I tend to rush things too much, and then they get messy, and then I don't do them right, and then it doesn't always turn out well. And I'm really trying to be a better cosplayer in the sense of really neat, clean things that I can compete with in contests and stuff. And that's something that naturally is a big flaw of mine. I'm not very good at that. So something I'm really, really working on is just taking my time and being really clean and neat in my work. And I can acknowledge that that's one of my downfalls. So I'm really proud of myself for something like this, that I just really took a deep breath, took my time to work on, made sure I did it right, so then I don't have to pay the consequences later. Because I know working in my Hilda, there was a few things that I really rushed that looking back now, there was no reason to rush, and I'm actually kind of like very regretful that I didn't do those things neater, because once they're done, you don't really want to do them over again. So with this one, on the top I did that too with the sleeves. I feel they're not really my best work. But, you know, it's not too late to make the rest of the cosplay look really, really good. I'm gonna take this to my living room so I can fully lay it out, and then I'm gonna cut all the edges so they blend in seamlessly. If that doesn't make sense, it's okay, I'll show you. This is why I have a giant table, because this is what happens when they see that I'm working on the floor. This is the best pattern I have ever made. I am so proud of myself right now. Okay, so I also made a waistband. I basically just took a big strip of fabric, well, I actually sewed 2 together, and then I folded it inside out, and it goes a bit bigger than my waist, which is kind of the point, because I want to be able to, there's going to be a skirt hook right here. And once I close off these edges, it gets a little bit smaller. Okay, it all fits. Waistband just adds something sturdy to hold up the skirt. And now I'm going to take apart these pattern pieces and put them onto paper. I'd love to learn how to digitally put my patterns on like my computer so I can give you guys like files of them. But for now, I actually am just putting them all on paper, so one day I'm just probably, maybe even Monday, gonna sit down and spend a whole day learning to digitize my patterns. I think it's a really good skill. I was actually inspired by Sarah Spaceman on here. She has a super awesome channel, awesome content, love it. I've learned so much from her. You guys should learn a lot from her too. And anyways, I think it's a really good skill, but I actually have a big roll of pattern paper and I'm just gonna go through and make sure I get a pattern for everything. Now my cutting table is all ready to be used. My floor is trying its best. Because these pieces are so big, I'm going to be cutting them out one at a time as I drag the fabric up, because I don't want them to get crunched up or anything like that. This is where I'm leaving off for the day sewing. So I sewed the skirt, but it still needs to be hemmed. And I got it to, like, you know, get like a little peek. My back and hands are starting to hurt, so I'm gonna switch gears and move over to some gaming time. So I think I actually have enough of this fabric to line the entire inside of the skirt, but we're gonna see once I pin the pattern to it. There's enough! I'm doing the same thing as I did on the top layer of the skirt, where I am cutting all the lining, sewing it together, and ironing it really well. I'm gonna be trying a type of hem I have never tried in my life before pretty soon, so I'm just gonna not really show you guys much of the lining because it's exactly what I did last night, just on this very shimmery lining fabric. It is definitely so much easier to iron them when they're just big flat pieces. Alright, so I have sewn the lining. So then this is what you'll see on the inside, because it'll have some poof to it. So we want to see the shimmeriness on the inside. And what I need to do next is I'm actually going to zigzag stitch everything up on the lining and the main one. And then we can actually get started on hemming them, and then I'll sew them together and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to try to learn how to blind hem. I'm going to turn this up by 1/4. Press this as I go too. I feel like that would make it a lot easier actually. This is actually much simpler than I thought. So this foot, it feeds through this top little lip right here, and the other side gets the bottom, and it just like 2 or 3 straight stitches on this side, and then it does a zigzag on the other. Alright. That actually is quite invisible. I like it. Look how tiny the dots are. I still haven't ironed it. Or I'll be ending the video here for my making my Edelgard part 2, because I need to get this up tomorrow. I plan to post this. Stay tuned for part 3. We'll be working on the cape and finishing off the skirt. I think I'm actually going to finish off this hem off camera and then keep vlogging for the cape. So stay tuned for part 3, and the details will be a lot of work too.